If you're a fan of the Atlanta Falcons, you maybe have to be just a little bit worried about Colin Kaepernick heading into the NFC Championship game, don't you? Welcome into the Sporting News Studios for Hot Reads, your weekly look at the NFL with Hall of Fame quarterback Troy Aikman. I'm Tom Vandervoort, and Troy, you spent last weekend watching Colin Kaepernick roam like a gazelle through the Packers defense, and I got to ask you, what went on there, and how are the Falcons going to stop this guy?
Well, there was just a complete, lack of discipline really by the Green Bay Packers. There's certain rules that you have to stick with if you're going to be effective against a quarterback that can run like that. A number of Colin's runs were, because of scrambles. He had a couple runs that were designed and the way that the plays were drawn up. And with those, someone has to take the dive man, someone has to take the quarterback, and you have to be very disciplined then in how you do that. And if you're playing man coverage, it's even more important. If you're playing zone coverage behind that, then eyes have to be on the quarterback. And that's certainly true when you're talking about pass plays or trying to corral Colin Kaepernick and keep him in the pocket. It's one thing to have a pass rush, but you gotta, if you get overly aggressive with that, then it creates running lanes, as we saw. I did not see Green Bay use any type of spy in the game, certainly did not on the long runs that he had. And so, I think that's the real key, and that's going to be the challenge then for Atlanta when you look at this game, because that's something that they struggled with last week in that win against Seattle and Russell Wilson.
Now, as far as the Falcons go, Matt Ryan and that team finally got that playoff win. Obviously, a lot of talk about that heading into the game. They got it, just barely. How does that affect their confidence? Is it a big deal that they were finally able to get this win, or not such a big deal?
Well, it's a big deal because, we're talking about them this week and they're playing in the NFC Championship. And, I think that the first playoff game is really always the toughest. There's always a lot of, I don't want to say anxiety, but certainly expectations. You don't want to just make the playoffs. And, certainly Atlanta did not after being the #1 seed for the second time in 3 years, playing at home. I think that, there was a lot of pressure on that football team going into that game, especially the head coach, Mike Smith, and then, of course, Matt Ryan. So I think they play a little looser this week, but it was a huge win coming back and winning. And I think the real key, for this game this week is going to be what we talked about with regards to Colin Kaepernick. And, they want to make him beat them and not with his feet. They want to make him beat them with his arm. And if they do that, then that means that they kept him in the pocket. And then they also were able to control the running game of Frank Gore and made him beat them throwing the football. Not that he's not capable of doing that, because he certainly is. But if he starts running around like he was able to last week and like he has done at times throughout the second half of the season, it's going to be a tough afternoon for Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's move on to the AFC Championship game, and it's been great to watch the Ravens this postseason. Such a resilient team, and obviously you think about Ray Lewis in his final season. What kind of impact has that had, do you think, on this football team?
Well, Ray Lewis has been a great leader for that team for a long time, as we know, and he's been, not only a great player, but he's been very inspirational for them. In talking with a number of guys who have played with them currently and formerly, and they all say the same thing of, he shows up every day ready to go to work and really inspires not only the veteran players, but a lot of the younger players. So, with him coming out and announcing that this was going to be his last season, I think that everyone in the locker room certainly would love to see, Ray go out on top because of what he's meant to the organization. But, each one of those guys individually has their own motivation. Joe Flacco wants to go to the Super Bowl and win a world championship because he's the quarterback of this team, and that's what he's paid to do, and he wants to be regarded as one of the greats. And that's true for all of those guys. So, as great as Ray has been, I don't know that it really motivates the players to play any better than they would have played otherwise. But I think when it's all said and done, they would be thrilled if they would be able to send Ray off, with a great finish to the year and certainly a world championship.
Absolutely. All right, listen, Troy, been great talking to you. And next week, obviously, we'll be looking forward to the Super Bowl, so can't wait.
Look forward to it, Tom.